Welcome to 10%. Imagine a rainbow honor walk on Castro Street. Imagine lesbian and gay people equal in the eyes of God. We're going to discuss both these tonight on 10% with my guest, Isak Lindenauer, and the Reverend Penny Nixon. That's tonight on 10%. Welcome to 10%. I'm your host, David Perry. I'm very honored tonight to have with me and with you a dear friend and a colleague, Isak Lindenauer, who's had a wonderful idea called the Rainbow Honor Walk. Isak, welcome.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here.
So, about 2 months ago, I guess it was, I read an article in the Bay Area Reporter about you promoting an idea to create a way to honor our lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender heroes and heroines called the Rainbow Honor Walk. And I remember thinking, this sounds like something that I talked about many years ago and we got together, and now here it is, something that looks like it might actually come to fruition. Tell us about it.
Well, as you say, this is something that has presented itself or manifested in the community a number of different times, although I was not aware of it when it first started entering my thoughts. I'm, for the most part, been a merchant in the Castro for 30 plus years and a resident and focused mainly on that. But when I first started thinking about the idea, the more I thought about it, the more I realized I had to share it and see if I could make it come into being. And it's generally very much like the Hollywood Walk of Fame, though I choose to call it an honor walk, and it's to celebrate and honor LGBT people throughout history and alive today by placing their names with the rainbow behind it on the sidewalks of the Castro to celebrate, to create commerce, and to create pride individually and in the community.
Yeah. I remember back in the early 90s walking the Castro and just seeing how dirty the sidewalks had become and how there seemed to me to be a generation of people who would walk through, gay and non-gay, who didn't realize the history that had been made in the Castro and the political movements that had started there, Harvey Milk's legacy. And I remember thinking, wouldn't it be great if there was a Walk of Fame? Now to find 15 years later, a similar idea now gathering steam under your leadership really pleases me. As someone who's lived and worked in the Castro for 30 years, what stands out for you? What have you seen change in the Castro in 30 years?
Well, when I first came to the Castro, I came because I really, as a gay person, I felt I needed to be free. I was a student in Berkeley in the 60s and lived in Berkeley for the better part of 15 years. And then I felt at one point that if I didn't move someplace where men looked back, I would start to suffocate and lose a vital part of my being. So I came to the Castro to be out in every sense of the word. And when I came to the Castro, Harvey Milk was still walking the streets, and it was the beginning of social revolution for gay people. And it was a thrilling time to be in the city. But it was soon thereafter that the epidemic of AIDS entered the world, and the Castro became a desperate and terrifyingly sad place to live. It was certainly one of the largest areas most seriously hit by the disease, and for years and years you couldn't walk down the block without knowing that somebody was dying in one of the shops in one of the buildings that you were walking by, in almost every one.
Yeah, I remember when I moved here in the mid-'80s, without exaggeration, seeing signs for estate sales, or signs in the window, apartments for rent, or the pictures on Cliff's Variety Store, pictures of men with Kaposi's sarcoma. It was a sad place. How have you seen that kind of transition from the dark years of the AIDS epidemic to what we have now, where the Castro is being celebrated in the film Milk?
Well, that's certainly the wonderful Renaissance, and that we have been able to survive, although it will never be the same. We lost a whole generation of wonderful men. But as the years progressed, and after seeing week after week double pages full of the pictures of merchants and friends and lovers and people we knew on the street, to see it start to lessen, and to see young men and women move into the neighborhood, and to see new shops open up, it's been terrific to see the renaissance and the rebirth, and to know that however devastating the epidemic was and still is, we were more, and are more than that. And so it's terrific to be an older person and to see this new life in the Castro again. But to a certain degree, a lot of the younger men aren't aware of what we went through, what we fought for, and it's one of the prime reasons I want to see this walk come about, because it's a really important way of educating not only our own community, but certainly the rest of the world, to the richness and the diversity of gay culture.
Now, I've always thought the idea of an honor walk in the Castro specifically was a great idea, because we've all heard that phrase, people who walk the walk, not just talk the talk. And I think walking the Castro every day, as I do on my way to the office or getting a cup of coffee or visiting friends there, I'm well aware of the protests and the celebrations that have taken there. And of course, well aware of Harvey Milk's legacy. You know, so many people, it seems like, since the film Milk came out, said they knew Harvey. You were there in the Castro when Harvey had his Castro camera shop there. What was he like? What was that time like?
Well, I wish I could say I knew Harvey better. I really didn't. I certainly marched with him, and I was in the neighborhood with him, but it was soon after I moved that Harvey was assassinated. And like I say, I came because it was a time when many gay men from all over were coming to the Castro, because it was the center of the universe in the way that Berkeley was in the 60s.
During the anti-war movement.
That's right, and the free speech movement, which I was arrested in. I just had the good fortune to be at the center of it there. And I came to the Castro, I guess, because I really felt like it was where it was the place to be if you wanted to be free.
Right.
And freedom's always been a great concern of mine.
Now, the idea of the Rainbow Honor Walk is now moving its way through various stages to make it complete. You've met with members of the Board of Supervisors, you've met with Supervisor David Campos, you've met with Supervisor Bevan Dufty, you've been taking the plaque around town, presenting it to neighborhood groups. What has been the response to the idea of the Rainbow Honor Walk?
Well, it's been overwhelming. It's been overwhelming. It's something that whose time, I hope this time has come around. You certainly know, because it's something that you had a similar feeling about some 15 years ago, and actually were able to bring it to the Board of Supervisors, but because of the epidemic, there was not enough impetus to take it further. Hopefully, since we're working together on this, and since so many people seem to have interest in it, we'll be able to make it happen. Also, there's a great intent on the part of the Castro Business District to beautify the neighborhood. They've talked about expanding the sidewalks so that there's more opportunity for life on the street, as it were. And so this could be very timely. And that makes it more of a possibility as well.
You know, as a merchant in the Castro, how do you feel about all this attention being focused here? I mean, there was a time when it was considered just a gay neighborhood, before then just an Irish neighborhood. Now I feel that the Castro has become a symbol not only of the LGBT community, but a symbol of how San Francisco works. I mean, this really could be something that is not just a monument within the city, but something that would attract international visitors as well, I would think.
Well, I hope that it will celebrate diversity and will make people, not just gay people, but people of all persuasions, come to the Castro to see what we're about. I hope that we can also put the names of important supporters of LGBT issues on the sidewalks who are straight as well, like Elizabeth Taylor and Ryan White and Elizabeth Glazer and George Moscone and Sean Penn. It's a way, I think, of focusing on the civil rights issues that we're up against at the moment, that we're trying to bring forward and have progress on. And I think it's most importantly a means of educating. Our community is one which, for as well known as individuals are, is severely in the background in terms of education. If you look at schools, there's very little that's ever written about gay people in any way.
Well, exactly. And you mentioned schools and education. I know that one of your passions is seeing the Rainbow Honor Walk either start or be part of the landscape of the neighborhood, inclusive of the area in front of the Harvey Milk Civil Rights Academy.
That's
I mean,
absolutely right.
your home and your shop is just down the street from the Harvey Milk Civil Rights Academy. How does that feel to see young people in your neighborhood every day being educated in social justice issues, which include LGBT rights?
Well, it's wonderful. I mean, I'm a human being first, we all are. But the school is a unique and wonderful place. I sat on the site board for a number of years, and the children are our future, that they have the opportunity to see that there are important people from the LGBT community who have contributed to the culture of the world is essential. I mean, this is a country which, for all its freedom and beauty, is a country filled with violence, violence against women, violence against gay people. And you see little kids 2 months ago, Jaheim Herrera and Carl Walker Hoover, 2 11-year-old boys who hang themselves for being taunted for being gay. In order to make it possible for kids of the future not to be ashamed of who they are if they're LGBT people, we have to be able to show who and what our culture is comprised of. So being able to have the names hand in hand, common ground on the sidewalk is critical.
Well, thank you, Isaac. I'm certain with your leadership and the support of the city and the Castro Benefit District that the Rainbow Honor Walk will become a reality. This is David Perry for 10%. We'll be back with the Reverend Penny Nixon.